What's up YouTube photographer Ronnie Sweater. In this tutorial I'll be showing how you can easily edit a raw image from the very start to the very end. So in this tutorial you are going to be learning how you can easily edit your raw files or raw portraits when it comes to Photoshop. So simply like the video and don't forget to subscribe if at all you're watching and you're not yet subscribed to this channel, and to follow along with this tutorial and get the image, simply check the links in the description to download the raw file and follow along. So in order to import this raw file, simply right click and come to open with and simply select Photoshop. So I'm using Photoshop 2025 for this kind of tutorial, and as soon as you open up a raw image when it comes to Photoshop, it is going to automatically be opened up in the camera raw filter. So in the camera raw filter, what we want to do is correcting the lighting and contrast issues regarding this very image. So for this case we're just going to come and first of all open up the shadows, because we are losing out on the information in the shadow areas in this image. Then we shall take the highlights down and also take the whites down, and you can see that makes the image look somehow better. And we are going to add contrast to the image to around 9 and come and open up the exposure a little bit. So if at all you find the highlights a little bit too much, always come to the highlight slider and reduce on the highlights or even the whites too. So you can see we started here and this is where we are right now. So you can come and add some blacks to the image to get back more contrast when it comes to your photo or your image. So after I've done this, the next thing is going to be coming down to the color mixer, and under color mixer we have hue, saturation and luminance. Basically hue is changing a color, so you can change the blues to whichever color that you want. So you can make the blues look like aquas, or you can make the blues more towards the purple side. So that is how hue works. Saturation is the intensity of a given color. You can increase on the intensity of the blues, or you can reduce on the intensity of the blues. Then luminance is how bright or how dark a color is, or how you want it to be. So you can darken the blues or brighten the blues. So after understanding that basic knowledge, the next thing we want to do is applying it to this very image. So first of all, we want to come to the hues and first of all change or manipulate the greens in the background. So you're just going to come to the greens and simply move the slider and we make the greens pop. So depending on your preference as the person editing, you can move or make the greens yellowish, or you can make the greens towards the aqua side, and you can play around with the yellow slider to see what works best for you. So I just want the greens to pop in the background, so I'll just take the yellows or make the yellows in the background towards the green side, and you can see now the greens are popping, but that can be a little bit too much sometimes. So we're going to be correcting that under saturation. So you can as well come and play around with the blues. So I'll make my blues towards the aqua side, so like that. Then you're going to come to the saturation. Remember the greens are a little bit oversaturated, so just going to come to the greens and reduce on the intensity of the greens by taking out the saturation. So we are going to take that down, or you can as well do the same for the yellows. So I'm just going to leave the yellows to around -10 and see what works best for us regarding the greens. So this is okay. Then we just want the pants to pop a little bit more, so we're just going to come to the saturation of the blues and intensify the saturation of the blues. So you can see now the image is coming to life and it looks better. So we're going to come to luminance and simply slightly darken the greens in the background by darkening the greens, and also we are simply going to come and also darken the blues slightly to around -10. So this is where we started and this is where we are right now. So we are going to come to the oranges, and when it comes to the oranges we're simply going to come and slightly darken the oranges to have more of the contrast in the skin tone area. So after you have done this in Camera Raw or even Lightroom, the next thing is going to be opening the image into Photoshop for us to do the next adjustments. And before you open the image into Photoshop, just come and make sure you have set this right. So make sure the color space is set to 16 bits per channel, because a 16-bit image is going to be better when it comes to reserving or carrying more information and detail Make sure output sharpening is set to sharpen for screen and the amount is set to standard. So you'll have to set these ones when it comes to using the camera raw filter. Just come and click OK. So in order to open the image in Photoshop, simply come and press OK, and the image is going to, or the photo is going to be open in the Photoshop version that you're going to be using for the next process. So in this, the next thing we want to do is first of all retouching this image or this photo. So in order to retouch, we're going to be using a technique known as frequency separation. And what you have to understand about frequency separation, it is a skin retouching technique that is going to divide this very image into the colors and the textures. The textures are going to be the outlines or the details in the image, and the colors basically are going to be the skin tones and various colors apart from or when you don't consider the textures. So we're just going to come right here to this image, and the background layer, simply press Ctrl J, press it twice to create those two layers, and then middle layer is going to be our low frequency layer, and up layer is going to be the high frequency layer or the texture layer. So after doing that, just come and hide the high frequency layer, select the low frequency layer. We are going to come to filter and come to blur and come to Gaussian blur, and it's going to open up the Gaussian blur dialog box right here. Make sure the radius is taken all the way down, and you click on an area on the skin that seems to have more information than the rest of the skin area. So take up the radius slider and stop at the point whereby you are just starting to close out on the details in the skin. So at around 4, that is when I'm just starting to close out on the skin details. So depending on the image that you are editing, you have to always take this into consideration, and we are simply going to come and click OK, and come and select the high frequency layer and now activate it. You're going to come to image and come to apply image, and it's going to open up the apply image dialog box right here. Make sure the layer you select is low frequency layer, and the blend mode has to be add. Make sure, because we're dealing with 16-bit image, the scale has to be to offset 0. Make sure you turn on the invert option, and also make sure preserve transparency and mask are not checked. And when you do that, click OK. So you'll see the textures on this gray layer. So to review back the information or to hide this gray color from affecting the image, just come and change the blend mode from normal to linear light, and linear light is going to hide everything that was gray in this very image. So after doing that, select both layers, then press Ctrl G, or you can use Command G on the keyboard to put these two in a group and open up this group or the folder. And now select the low frequency layer and hide the high frequency layer. Then you're going to come to the brushes and right click and select the Mr. Brush tool. So if at all you don't have the Mr. Brush tool, you can always right click here and select whichever tool that you are missing by editing or finding it below there. So with the Mr. Brush tool selected, simply come and make sure the hardness set to 0, soft round brush is selected. Then also make sure the option that says clean brush is selected, because as we're editing the skin, we are dealing with different areas of varying skin tones. Make sure the option that says clean the brush after each and every stroke has been selected. With a weight of 9%, load 75, mix at 90, flat 100%. Make sure sample all layers is not turned on. And right now we are just going to simply slightly zoom into the image. And how to apply or blend the transitions between the skin tone, we are simply going to reduce on the size of the Mr. Brush tool. And by the way, if at all the Mr. Brush tool is showing a plus icon, press the caps lock key on the keyboard. So with this done, to increase or decrease on the size of the Mr. Brush tool as you're editing, use the open and close box brackets on the keyboard. So we just want to mix. So in order to mix a given color within the skin tones, we left click and hold down, and you drag just like that. Left click, hold down, and you mix a given area. And after mixing that area, you release the left click button and left click once again on a new area to blend. So in order to blend a small transition, use a tiny brush to blend that given area. So I'm just going to come and blend just like that. So you left click and hold down and blend just like that. And if at all you are using a graphics tablet, it is as simple as drawing using your pen. So I'll just come and blend just like that. And as we're doing this, you can notice that the skin is looking smooth. And I'm just going to reduce on the size. So when it comes to the nose area, you have to keep on moving the brush in the direction of how a given area is shaped to keep and maintain the original shape of the model's face, because you don't want to distort the face or the facial structures. So I'll just come and blend just like that. Come to the neck area and also blend. So you can see editing photos in Photoshop is as easy as this. So just come right here to the hand area and also blend the transitions just like that. So you mix the midtones alone, the highlights alone, and the shadows alone. And in this, you're going to be keeping and maintaining the original details or the original shape of the model's body. So just take your time as you're trying. So you can see on a smaller area, I use a very small brush and I brush in that given area. So I'll just continue working just like that and blend just like that. So you can see the image has now been edited regarding the skin tones. And after blending skin tones, you can now come and turn on the texture or high frequency layer. And as soon as you do that, you can see the overall before and after, before, after. So after doing this, it is time to remove the pimples or blemishes. Select the high frequency layer and come and get the clone stamp tool and make sure the hardness set to 0. The mode is normal, opacity at 100%, flat 100%. Align this checked and make sure the sample is set to current layer, because blemishes are part of the currently selected layer. So we are simply going to zoom into the image all the way by using Ctrl+ on the keyboard, or you can use Command+ on the keyboard. So to remove these pimples, hold down or make sure the size of the clone stamp tool is slightly bigger than the people that you want to remove or the blemish, and hold down the Option key on the keyboard for Mac, and for Windows use the alternate key on the keyboard, and left click on a clean area near the pimple. So while still holding on the Option key on the keyboard, left click to copy clean skin and release the left click button and the alternate key on the keyboard, and simply paint over the pimple or blemish, and that blemish is going to be removed or replaced by that clean skin that we copied initially. So basically the clone stamp tool stamps clean skin over the blemish and is going to replace the blemish with clean skin. So that is the whole idea behind the clone stamp tool. So we are going to move around, hold down the space bar key and it's going to bring up the hand, and you can drag, left click and drag up to a given direction depending on where you want to move or to see or identify the blemishes. So I'm just going to do this quick because I don't want the tutorial to be over 30 minutes. So I'm just going to remove all those, Command- to zoom out. So right now the skin has been edited and it looks better. So you can see before, after, before, after. So after editing the skin, what do you want to do? Have even skin tones. So now in order to have even skin tones, we're simply going to come and create a stamp visible layer by using Shift, Option, Command E on the keyboard. Then for Windows is Shift, Alternate, Ctrl E to create a stamp visible layer. And after doing that, we're just going to come to this new layer icon, left click on it. Then you're going to come to the brushes, right click and get the brush tool, and also make sure the hardness is set to 0, soft round brush is selected, opacity in the flat 100%. And after doing that, we are going to simply zoom into the image by using Ctrl+ on the keyboard. So for this step, what do we want to do? We just want to create even skin tones for our subject or for our model. So we're just going to sample a color from the model skin that we want the rest of the skin to look like. So for this case, I'll just hold down the Option key on the keyboard in order to sample. And as soon as you hold down the Option key on the keyboard or the alternate key on the keyboard, we are just going to sample a color on the skin that we want the rest of the skin to look like. So for this, I'll just sample that color right there. So Option and left click to sample that color, and you can see it is going to display right there. And after sampling that color, always come to the blend mode and change it from normal to color. And after doing that, we are simply going to start painting on the model skin, just like that. So we are just going to paint just like that, using the color that we sampled initially. So if at all you feel like you don't like the color that it is painting over the skin, you can go back, delete this, and create another empty layer. Do the same process once again. So I'm just going to come to color and hold on the option key on the keyboard, and I'll just come and sample a brand new color. So I'll just come and sample a color from this area and go ahead and start painting once again. But don't mind if at all the color looks oversaturated, because we are meant to correct that later on. So this step is basically to give us a foundation for our color grading process. So keep on increasing or reducing on the size of the brush depending on how big the area you're trying to paint on is. So the skin may not be looking nice at this point, but we are about to correct the color in the skin. So I'll just come and paint. So don't forget the ear. So make sure you paint on each and every area, and don't paint in the eyebrows or the makeup areas in the skin. So I'll just come down to the hands, zoom out, and also come to the hands and also paint just like that. And as we're doing this, you can notice that the skin in the face area, or the color of the skin in the face area, is almost the same to the color on the hands that we are painting. And now the skin is going to be nice and uniform in this case. So don't mind if at all you paint other areas that you're not meant to paint in the first place, because I'll be showing you how you can easily correct that error or that mistake. So to paint on a very small scale or area, zoom over in by using Ctrl+ on the keyboard, and you can see that right now we hadn't painted in specific areas, so you can just come and paint in those areas too. By zooming all the way in, you can see this area hadn't been painted in. So just come, these areas also haven't been painted. So after doing that, to correct the areas you may have accidentally painted, get the eraser tool and make sure the mode is set to brush opacity and flat 100%. So with the eraser tool, simply use it to erase. Come and also erase it from the shot in that area, and also come erase it from the shot right there. Come and erase it from these areas. So take your time as you're doing this, because you don't want to do a shady kind of job. So you can see in these areas, or you can see that we still have color. So always take your time while zooming in to identify those simple or tiny mistakes. So I'll just get the brush tool and paint, and get the eraser tool. So you can use E on the keyboard to get the eraser tool, and you're going to come and also erase or clean away the mistakes. So let's come back to the face and see what we messed up. So this area, so the earring right there, erase it from the earring, and you can also erase it from this area, because this area was meant to have makeup. So we are erasing it from there, erase it from the hair area right there. And remember, we hadn't painted in this tiny area, so we have just painted or rectified that area. So you can see the skin is now looking uniform, but this is too much and it is oversaturated. So just come the opacity and reduce on the opacity to your liking. So I'm just going to go with around 50 50 is okay. So after doing that, to correct or make the skin look better and more natural, just come and create a hue and saturation adjustment layer. Come and make sure you select the reds and come to where you see lightness and reduce on the lightness to your liking. So I'll go with around 11, negative 11 is okay. Then you're going to come and create a selective color adjustment layer and simply come to blacks and simply come to where you see the cyans and take the cyan slider up to make the effect a little bit more cinematic. And you can as well come to the blacks and slightly darken the blacks by adding just a tiny bit of contrast, so you can see what the selective color has contributed to this image. And now the subject is popping out of the background. So you can as well come and add contrast by coming and creating a black and white adjustment layer and change the blend mode from normal to multiply. Come the opacity and reduce on the opacity to around, you're just going to go with around 7, or you can go with around 5 or 6. So I'll just go with 5, and this is what we have been able to achieve right now. So let's do a little bit of eye whitening. So in order to whiten the eyes, simply come and create a hue and saturation adjustment layer and come make sure master is selected. Take the saturation all the way out of the image around negative 75 and press Ctrl I on the keyboard, or you can use Command I on the keyboard to invert the effect. Zoom into the image by using Ctrl plus on the keyboard. So after doing this, with the brush tool selected, make sure you have black and white on these two color swatches. So if at all you have any other random color apart from black and white, press D on the keyboard or left click on these tiny swatches or squares that have black and white. So make sure white is the foreground color or the color on top right here. And with that done, simply come and paint just like that in the eyes. And you can as well do the same for the teeth to whiten the teeth. So this is what we have been able to achieve in just Photoshop. And let me show you quick before and after for this in Photoshop. So this is the image before, after, before, after. You can see how nice the image has gotten to be or to look. So if at all you want to manipulate the greens even more, create a selective color adjustment layer. So you're just going to come right here and select selective color, and you can target only the greens, and you can play around with the green color by adding whichever effect or color that you want. So I'm just going to move this towards this side and play around with the magentas too. You can see how this is affecting the image. So it's the before, after. So right now, after editing the image, the next step that you'd love to do as a photographer is saving a sharp image that won't have any color change issues when it comes to Photoshop. So simply come to File, Export, and come to Export As, and it's going to open up the Export As dialog box right here in Photoshop. And under File Settings, make sure the format is set to JPEG and the quality is taken all the way to the maximum, which is, for my case, it is 7. Make sure you come to the resample and make sure you change it to by cubic sharper, because we want a sharp image or a sharp photo during the saving process. So make sure you have changed the resample to by cubic sharper. And in order to avoid color change issues in your images after editing, simply come and make sure that Convert sRGB and also Embed Color Profile have been checked. And after doing that, simply click on Export and choose wherever you want to save the image and click on Save. So this is how you can easily edit an image in Photoshop from the start to the very end. And if at all you have enjoyed this, simply like this video and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. If at all you have been watching and you're not a subscriber to this channel, Ronix from Ronix Photography. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in yet more videos on this channel. Don't forget to keep practicing and also keep creating.